episode.
Yeah, so mid-19th century, Sir Moses Montefiore comes and says, we got to start making wine again. This is because Israel had been a sort of a dead country for winemaking since the Muslim conquest. And really, there was no wine being produced. So when he said in the mid-19th century, we got to do this. So they brought over grapevines from the greatest wine country in the world, France. So they brought them over, imported. And so, like you mentioned, there's been a recent push to try to figure out what the native varietals are of what really should be growing well with the terroir of Israel. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And in the whiskey world, actually, talking about Israel, Israel's doing some interesting things. And I know you've had some of those guests on as well. So some of the highlights, if people are looking around, trying to find some of the wonderful interviews you've had, what have you discovered about the whiskey world of Israel?
So that's something I'm still discovering. There's Milk and Honey, Golani, Thinkers. There's some distilleries now popping up. Look, I mean, it's hard to argue with Israel being a wine. This is an utterly facile and really sort of a flat way of looking at the world, but one can. It's an interesting lens to look at the world in terms of lands or countries and what they drink, right? So Israel always has been and probably always will be a wine drinking country. Beer and whiskey taking a second seat. Meanwhile, of course, for the Talmud fans out there, we know that in Bavel and Sasanian Persia, it was not a wine country. It was a beer-first country. And so wine was, wine in Israel is like beer in Persia. And in America, it's hard to figure out what America is. But France, we don't think about beer in France. They are a wine country. But you go to Russia, it's vodka. And so I like to think about lands as being about what they drink, largely. And so look, they can try having whiskey. It's obviously not Kentucky or Scotland, but it's something. And beer will always struggle in Israel, although I want it to grow because I'm a beer lover. So, but I am a pluralist, so I'll drink whatever.